It's Monday, November 21. In the headlines, Prime Minister Andrew Holness says government is committed to rebuilding the country. Law updated to prevent children from entering gangs. Regionally, UN sets up a climate change compensation fund. And on the international scene, DOJ announces special prosecutor in Donald Trump probe. In sports, Jamaica Scorpions win a 2022 CG Insurance Super 50 Cup. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says his administration is committed to rebuilding the country. He told the 79th annual conference of the Jamaica Labour Party at the National Arena on Sunday that the Jamaica Labour Party is leading this transition and recovery. It will be done, he says, in an orderly, fair, equitable and efficient manner.
A new Jamaica is emerging. A new political order is emerging. I've been coming to conference for over 20 years. And those of you who have been coming to Jamaica Labour Party conferences, you can be witnesses. You are witnesses to the change in the way in which the Jamaica Labour Party has conducted its political affairs and its governance affairs. You are seeing the change right in front of your eyes.
Mr. Holness notes that the Jamaican economy is fiscally sound, with no new taxes imposed on Jamaicans since the JLP was elected in office in 2016.
Our national debt is going down. Going down. We are the only country in this region that can say that after COVID, our debt is trending downward. That's a good news story that must be shouted from every hilltop. But you don't hear that said often enough. What does that mean, that our debt is going down? It means we have more financial space to spend on the people of the country.
He says that the JLP-led government seeks to provide employment for all ambitious Jamaicans, pointing out that the administration has created more jobs than ever in the history of Jamaica. Provisions under the Modernized Criminal Justice Suppression of Criminal Organizations Amendment Act 2021, commonly called the anti-gang legislation, now allows for the prosecution of groups engaged in criminal activities. This was stated by Senior Deputy Director of the Public Prosecutions, Jeremy Taylor, within the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. Mr. Taylor made his statement at the Ministry of Education and Youth's anti-gang town hall meeting held last week. Maya Chung reports.
Provisions under the Modernized Criminal Justice Suppression of Criminal Organizations Amendment Act 2021, commonly called the anti-gang legislation, now allows for the prosecution of groups engaged in criminal activities. This was stated by Jeremy Taylor, Senior Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions within the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, ODPP. Mr. Taylor made his statement at the Ministry of Education and Youth's Anti-Gang Week town hall meeting held this past Thursday.
The age of criminal responsibility in Jamaica is age 12. So that's how young you are before you can be charged with a criminal offense. Don't believe also that because you are 11 and under and you commit a crime that you get away. You still have to be put before the court for it to address in some sort of way the crime that you have committed. So let me start there. And then, how does the law look at a criminal organization, or informally a gang? So the Criminal Justice Suppression of Criminal Organizations Act, or we just call it for short, the anti-gang law. It's passed in 2014, it was amended in 2021. And according to that law, 3 or more persons get together to do engage in criminal activity. It doesn't matter if the criminal activity was planned or formed on the spur of the moment. Once there are 3 or more of you and you engage in criminal activity, the law says criminal organization.
The meeting was held at the office of the Commissioner of Police in Kingston as well as online. He explained that what has changed with the new legislation is crime and measures to stop children from entering gangs, as well as the general aim to curb all criminal gang activity.
There are offenses for recruiting gang members near a school or recruiting children into the gang, so there is that. The punishments are quite heavy. So, in brief, I would tell you, if you look at the way how the law is, it would suit you not to be a member of a gang, and it would suit you not to engage in criminal activity.
Well said.
Law enforcement will no longer look at the individual. It was disclosed that up to 2014, the legal system was designed to only prosecute the individual. This was irrespective of what other persons may have done, either in the background or foreground. Mr. Taylor said this new act allows the government to move against groups and that the nation will have seen that the justice system has brought certain groups to trial. The law passed in 2014 and amended in 2021 spreads a broad net to facilitate the capture of all persons complicit in criminal activities. The trigger person, as well as anyone who drives them to do the crime, will be charged. The other criminals will be looked at as facilitators and liable. The law goes further to clarify that individuals participating in activities that render any benefit to a gang also contravene the law. Mr. Taylor broke out the instances being referenced. If you carry the guns for the criminal organization to hide or to lock, a benefit has been provided. Taking stolen goods to a pawn shop for sale is a benefit for criminality. Getting a medical help for a person or persons knowing the individual is a member of a gang who has committed gang-related activity is a benefit. Information from the Jamaica Constabulary Force JCF indicates that gang violence contributes to an estimated 80% of murders in the country. Detective Inspector Green, a part of the panel examining the issue, called on all citizens to see the issue as ongoing in perpetuity. With this designated week during Youth Month being only a part of a longer-term mission, the week was kicked off this past Sunday.
We have partnered with several stakeholders, not least of which is the Ministry of Education, among others, and the wider JCF, to launch Anti-Gang Week under the theme, Lego the Gang, Lift Up Jamaica. And we have some activities which we have started since Sunday with the church service. We had some media exposure on Monday where the messages were sent out, and we continue to send the messages even through occasions like this. And we do welcome all stakeholders, all persons who wish Jamaica well, to come on board with us. It means therefore that we have to ensure that we protect valuable investment, the younger ones. And it doesn't stop this week with the Anti-Gang Week, but it's a continuous effort, and no doubt competitors have been doing consistently, trying to get our young ones in their corner.
Reporting for PBCJ News, I'm Maya Chung.
The government continues to work towards increasing Jamaica's international trade and commerce. To this end, the Income Tax Amendment Act 2022 was approved in the Senate last week. The amendment ensures conformity with international obligations. Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, who piloted the legislation in the upper house, said the bill is a companion to the recently passed Special Economic Zone Amendment Act.
And it will provide clarity to administrators also who function as part of the operation of the regime. So very, very briefly, Mr. President, clauses 2 and 3 allow for the insertion of the word business in respect to the application of the employment tax credit and the treatment of dividends in sections 32A and 38 respectively. This ensures that the entities that offer business process outsourcing can operate in the zones and receive the benefits contemplated by the CESA and the Income Tax Acts when they are taken together.
Senator Johnson-Smith explains that consequent on further international reviews, it was determined that amendments were needed for clarity and in order for the SEZ to be compliant with our international obligations.
When there were further international reviews, as all comparable legislation across the world is subject to peer reviews and international reviews by OECD's Forum for Harmful Tax Practices, for example, and the EU. In its most recent review, in the 2020 review, a determination was made that amendments were needed for clarity and in order for the SEZ to be compliant with our international obligations. Those amendments were recently undertaken, and these amendments today now ensure that the Income Tax Act is coherently implemented together with that body of legislation. So we're ensuring that we will improve the administration of the regime by addressing the ambiguities that have been noted.
Today, November 21, is World Television Day. In 1996, the United Nations General Assembly made the declaration for the recognition of such a day, recognizing television as having an increased impact on decision-making, as well as being an ambassador for the entertainment industry. Television is a symbol of communication and globalization that educates, informs, entertains and influences our decisions and opinions. The Caribbean School of Media and Communication, CARIMAC, participates in the yearly commemoration of World Television Day in appreciation of the significant impact that television has on Jamaican culture. This year, they have chosen the theme Local Content, International Value to highlight the influence of Jamaican content on a global scale. CARIMAC's Sheikha Walsh tells us more.
So we'll be having a panel discussion in CARIMAC Annex 2, and it will be featuring a group of panelists who are very much in touch in the industry. Sharon Schroeter, we have Judith Alberga, Delano Forbes, and Rory Roberts. So under the theme Local Content, International Value, we will speak about what they have done in the industry and how it has, surpassed just the local scene and gone on to international views and recognition and all that. So it's 6 p.m. today in CARIMAC Annex 2. It will be live as well on newstalk93fm.net. So we just want everybody to come out. It's open to the public, 6 p.m., and we're expecting you. Thank you.
In the business report, BOJ hikes interest rate to 7%. We have that story, plus your usual market updates from Danita Rodney.
The Bank of Jamaica, BOJ, on Friday, November 18, announced an increase in the policy interest rate by 50 basis points to 7%. The announcement was made by Governor Richard Bowles at their quarterly monetary policy press conference.
The Bank of Jamaica earlier today announced its decision to increase the policy rate by a further 50 basis points to 7%. Effective Monday the 21st of November 2022.
Governor Bowles also reported that the bank has taken decisive actions in the foreign exchange market to maintain a flexible exchange rate and reduce inflation costs for consumers.
While maintaining a flexible exchange rate, the bank has taken decisive actions in the foreign exchange market, including selling foreign exchange when necessary. Without these actions, imported inflation and hence final prices faced by consumers would have been much higher.
For your market updates, in foreign exchange trading for Friday, November 18, the US dollar sold for an average of $154.81. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $116.24. The pound sterling traded for $183.91, and the euro sold for $161.99. In JSE trading, the JSE index declined by 3,393 points. The junior market index declined by 61 points. The combined market index declined by 3,728 points. And the All Jamaican Composite Index declined by 2,954 points. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 110 stocks, of which 39 advanced, 55 declined, and 16 traded firm. Stocks advanced for Cargo Handlers Limited, Elite Diagnostic Limited, and Epley Caribbean Property Fund Limited SCC. Stocks declined for 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, Barita Investments Limited, and Blue Power Group Limited. Trading firm were Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances Limited, Epley Limited 6% preference shares due 2024, and ISP Finance Services Limited. The overall volume leaders were One-on-One Educational Services Limited with over 3 million units, Mayberry Jamaican Equities Limited, and JFP Limited with over 1 million units. In regional stocks, in Trinidad and Tobago, Glico Investment Fund was the only active security posting over 60,000 shares. On the Barbados Stock Exchange, Goddard Enterprises Limited was the volume leader with over 900 shares. They were followed by West India Biscuit Company Limited, which traded 300 shares. In market data for oil prices slipped as supply fears reduced while concerns over fuel demand from China and the US dollar strength weighed on prices. Brent crude futures had slipped 52 cents to $87.10 a barrel, and West Texas Intermediate crude were at $79.40 a barrel, down 68 cents. And that was the business report on PBCJ. I'm Danita Rodney.
In regional news, Antigua and Barbuda and other states most vulnerable to the impact of climate change have welcomed an agreement at the United Nations Climate Change Summit in Egypt to set up a loss and damage fund. This fund will ensure developed nations compensate vulnerable countries for the economic losses and damage from the impact of climate change. Jessica Russell has that story.
We heard the calls and we responded. Today, here in Sharm el-Sheikh, we established the first ever dedicated fund for loss and damage.
Delegates at the United Nations Climate Change Conference, COP27, came to a breakthrough deal to provide loss and damage funding to countries most vulnerable to climate damage on Sunday. The meeting was to end on Friday, but went on 36 hours longer after contentious debate on the issue, which should see poor countries given financial assistance to rescue and rebuild. The fund would benefit Antigua and Barbuda if the twin island state is affected in the future. Environment Minister Sir Marwin Joseph, who chairs the Alliance of Small Island States, says the international community has restored a global faith in this critical process that is dedicated to ensuring no one is left behind. He also says the agreements made at COP27 are a win for our entire world. We have shown those who felt neglected that we hear you, we see you, and we are giving you the respect and care you deserve. It is expected that the details of how the fund will work will at least take another year. Loss and damage was the most contentious issue at the conference and has been a long-running demand by developing countries since 1992. However, Sunday's decision has been seen as a historic one.
I hear no objections. It's so decided.
In the high-level segment of the United Nations Climate Conference COP27, St. Kitts and Nevis Minister of Environment and Climate Action, Dr. Joel Clark, called for moves towards climate justice and for the observer inclusion of the Republic of China on Taiwan.
Minister Clark spoke to the fragility of small island developing states and the need for a change in outlook of economic classification, saying there cannot be any action without addressing climate justice.
The severity of loss and damage is traumatic. What then is the game changer? There is no action without addressing climate justice, which embraces climate finance, a perennial challenge of SIDS. We must start by acknowledging the vast differences in the economies of scale and fiscal inability to respond to such climate events, as well as the problems of classifications as a middle-income country based solely on GDP. In St. Kitts and Nevis, we have embarked on a journey of green possibilities. Our goal is to become a sustainable island state. Our energies are currently focused on harnessing geothermal energy. Our 39-year-old friendship with the Republic of China, Taiwan, has supported our renewable energy pathway. Together, we have produced 2.5 megawatts of renewable energy for our citizens. Taiwan has partnered with many countries to reduce emissions. We here proclaim that COP27 is one of action and implementation and has been branded Together for Implementation. Mr. President, St. Kitts and Nevis highly recommends that the Republic of China, Taiwan become observers. Your serious consideration will be highly appreciated.
CARICOM member countries, as well as other small island developing states of the Pacific Ocean, are at COP27 in Egypt advocating for climate justice.
In international news, former U.S. President Donald Trump has hit out at decision to appoint a special counsel to oversee investigations into his handling of classified documents after leaving office. Jack Smith has been picked to lead the probes, which include an inquiry into Trump's attempt to interfere in the results of the 2020 presidential election. Smith's appointment comes just days after Trump announced he will run for president again in 2024. More from Al Jazeera.
A special counsel investigation means the federal government's criminal probes into former President Donald Trump will have a new boss. That will be Jack Smith, a former top Justice Department attorney currently working for the International Criminal Court at The Hague. Smith will return to Washington as special counsel to take over the investigations into Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election results and Trump's handling of national security documents after he left office. The special counsel will have day-to-day autonomy in the ongoing cases, taking the investigation out of the Justice Department's normal chain of command. U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland said, given Trump's announcement this week that he's entering the 2024 presidential race, a special counsel is the only way to lessen the appearance of a conflict of interest.
Based on recent developments, including the former president's announcement that he is a candidate for president in the next election, and the sitting president's stated intention to be a candidate as well, I have concluded that it is in the public interest to appoint a special counsel.
This horrendous abuse of power is the latest in a long series of witch hunts. We started a long time ago.
His belief in American strength and his commitment to American.
Speaking from a Mar-a-Lago gala hours after the special counsel announcement, Trump accused the Biden administration of political attack.
The corrupt and highly political Justice Department just appointed a super radical left special counsel, better referred to as a special prosecutor. This is a rigged deal, just as the 2020 election was rigged, and we can't let them get away with it. We can't do it. We cannot let this happen to our country.
The White House has consistently declined to discuss investigations involving Trump. A Biden spokesperson said the president had not been involved in the decision to appoint a special counsel.
In sports, Jamaica Scorpions were crowned champions of the 2022 CG Insurance Super 50 Cup after a 3-wicket win over the Trinidad and Tobago Red Force in the final at the Vivian Richards Cricket Stadium in Antigua Saturday night. Sent in to bat, Red Force were bowled out for 217 in 47 overs, led with 43 from Yannick Sierra. In reply, Scorpions reached their target of 218 for 7 in 47 overs, thanks to an impressive 80 from Shadwick Walton and 55 from Andre McCarthy. It has been 12 years in the making. And finally, the first Football World Cup to be held in the Middle East kicked off in Qatar on Sunday, November 20. The Emir of Qatar welcomed the world at the end of a spectacular opening ceremony, but the elation soon turned to disappointment for the host nation before the night was over, as Qatar lost 0-2 to Ecuador in the first match. Here's a look at the happenings.
The tent, a symbol of Arab culture. Amid a gala of artists, music, color and applause, the wait is over for one of the sporting world's most anticipated championships. Look who we are the dreamers. The Football World Cup's opening ceremony watched by thousands of fans in Qatar and millions of people across the globe.
I heard something beautiful, not just music, but also this call to celebration.
The first World Cup of the post-COVID-19 era, the first in the Middle East, the first hosted by a Muslim country. The traditionally popular sport not just unites nations across the globe, but also the people of Qatar and its rulers.
People of all origins, nationalities, religions and beliefs will meet here in Qatar and on TV screens around the world on all the continents to participate in these incredible moments. It's a beautiful thing for people to put their differences aside to celebrate their diversity and unity at the same time.
The 2022 World Cup underway. It didn't start well for the hosts. Saad Al-Sheeb charged off his lines and Enna Valencia headed in. But VAR ruled it out for a narrow offside. 15 minutes in, Al-Sheeb was involved again, catching Valencia. The referee played advantage, but then gave the penalty. Valencia put Ecuador ahead. On the half hour, it was 2, Valencia getting his second. Going into half-time, Qatar's El Morizali did get a sight of goal, but couldn't find the net. The second half was more even, but there were only 3 minutes left when Mohammed Bantari had the hosts' best chance of the game. Not to be. Qatar now face a challenge to get out of their group. And with that, the drama begins for the fans.
It's taken 12 years to get here, a journey fraught with challenges, from a grueling blockade to a global pandemic, from building the infrastructure for an entire nation to delivering stadiums on time. This is the day which marks overcoming all of those challenges, and the FIFA World Cup in Qatar has officially begun. Osama bin Javed, Al Jazeera, Doha.
And that's the news on PBCJ. You can follow us on our social media platforms at PBCJamaica. Thanks for watching.